It's Your Sleepless God back with a new video of what if Midoriya had Big Chill. Last time we left off, Midoriya fell down a hill, with it, not fell, but more been, trying to escape the flames itself, and fell and scraped off scraped wounds, cuts all over his body as he crawled himself into a cave, as he saw a Big Chill, or what we see as a Big Chill, that he sees an alien and trying to cure her or wound her with the medical knowledge he knows from books that he's read, that are definitely not scientifically faction, but are at least okay for medical knowledge. He does save her life. As she wakes up, he instantly gets frozen solid, and he has to explain that we're on Earth. Also, she explains that this place is controversial and stupid, basically. Because why would you just save someone when you can save them and teach them something to what they need to do to save themselves? But sometimes you can't do that, and you actually do have to save them, and yes, that is right. But most of the time, you can save them and teach them something when they are saving. So you can save them and teach them how to fight, so you never have to save them again. Well, that's basically it. Let's start the video. As we see Midoriya and the girl that we now know as she says her name to Midoriya, Annabeth. Annabeth is Annabeth is sitting right by Midoriya, as Midoriya is still shaking. He's still cold from the freezing cold, as you see a fire the fire is on that Midoriya has made from the little kindling that he has found, and a little bit of branches and stuff like that he's found around the wilderness, stuff like that he can burn. As I said, as he's hiding basically his arms, because his arms are more and more blue and spotted with a little bit of black to it, as his body is changing. It's a little bit faster now, but it's starting to go up to his wrist and starting to go as he's hiding his hands in the back as he's talking to Annabeth. As Annabeth is basically explaining her home world. Her home world is basically a beautiful icy place, but it's basically frozen solid, as ice pillars are just jetted out, as it is full with natural metals, just always spawning, and it's a beautiful hot and cold environment, but it's also very deadly and very scary, as some of their kind go away for other chances and other things, as Annabeth is basically saying. And what we see to Earth is the garbage place of everything. As Midoriya's garbage? What do you mean? Earth has a reputation of not good representation of what the world should be. See, because after Quirk started getting things, and science started, instead of branching off into space and other things like that, is branched off only to quirks, and they only have quirks in their science. A lot of the Galvans even see Earth as a trash hole for alien weapons that are not useful anymore, or abilities that they had ideas for, but they didn't use them. And he says, the Galvans? What is a Galvan? He's an alien race that is super high tech and is super advanced, but not even close to what too high up there for any person to ever explain. Sorry, I messed up. But what you guys have been doing is lowering your intellect. See, even the score scales now for your testing and all that stuff is very low. You are now more quirk related. If you have a strong quirk and you know how to use it, You go into a high school that is built for stabilizing your quirk, but not your brain. You see, Midoriya, because you're quirkless, you have learned more than a person that's not, and you will learn more. As I'm stuck here, you will learn how to fight, and you will learn multiple things about other things. As also, you will learn how to control power that you look like you're gaining. As we see, like the black arm of what Big Chill looks like start going up, and is almost at his shoulder level, as the ripped shirt and all that stuff does not cover the sorry, fucking cancer. The changing as Midori's like trying to hide his hand. He's like, as Annabeth sticks out her hands and says, "No, keep him." I don't know what thing that you had. I know it's not a quirk. You've seen more smart, intellectual, understanding than other people that has quirks. But with this new DNA, you're gonna have to change with it and function well. As for the next 2 to 3 weeks, we see Midoriya start changing and start fighting with Annabeth, learning new attacks, and also while his body is changing, how to get used to it, because it's blunt reactions. It is horrifical because his bones have to change too. It hurts, as Annabeth is here the entire way with him, watching his because his feet have to change from this natural to longer feet and almost only 2 toes, if I remember correctly, as his arms and his bone structure have to change to go through walls and stuff like that. And his body also has to change to deal with very high temperatures, because they eat metal and steel and basically super hot stuff, because they're resistant to hot and cold, and freezing cold temperatures of their own body, because that's how they freeze things. As Annabeth is there the entire time helping him through it. It's basically as in 3 weeks Midoriya finally morphed into Big Chill. This morph is not perfect. He's still doing minor changes about his body, but this is basically his final form, as Annabeth teaches him how to use it. It's basically how to freeze stuff with his mouth, and also how to phase through things, and also how to phase through things without freezing them, and phase through things with freezing them. He also taught him how to use his cloak, how to fly, and use how to fly itself, as Midoriya and Annabeth basically become a little teamworky. Annabeth is basically trying to figure out what is Midoriya's story, because no normal child is just in the forest, but also is teaching Midoriya and teaching how to do multiple things. One thing is learn. He's basically teaching Midoriya how she is basically teaching, or it, I shouldn't even say he or she, because it's more of a it's not, it's multi it's multi-gender, but she Big Chill is basically teaching him how, I'm just gonna say Annabeth, as Annabeth is trying to teach him how to take in information, how to judge people, how to read emotions, how to read if someone's lying to you or if someone's not, and how to read clicks. Clicks are basically things that people use for different things, like if they're lying, if they're telling the truth, if they're nervous, all that stuff. As 2 to 3 years go by, as they are basically you see Midoriya at the age of 9 now, with a new name and everything. His name is now Percy. He changed his name to Percy because of just he hated the name now for his original name. He hates it. And Annabeth has tried to get his original name out. Like, what was your original name? Because like Annabeth finally asked after like 2 years, like, what's your name? And he says as he thought for like 2 to 3 minutes, and he looked up and he said Percy. But for the person who taught him how to lie, he saw that was a lie. Your original name was not Percy. You thought too long for it. As many years now, Annabeth tries to get Percy. That's what she calls her. That's what Annabeth says to him. But nothing. Not even a hint. As for many years now, they're kind of sparring because Percy now kind of gets how to use his powers and how to use how to use it, especially phasing and all that stuff and freezing things. As now they're basically Annabeth and Percy are now like an even match, even though Annabeth is a lot older. It's about 2 years older than Percy. Percy is a lot more, I wouldn't even say elegant, I would say creative about his powers, like doing flips in the air, putting down his cloak so he stops flying for a couple seconds, grabbing on something and then freezing, and then putting his cloak back to fly again. And he's also super acrobatic. Annabeth is less acrobatic and more, like almost like a military training. But it's more, and Percy is more. How can I say this? I would say interesting, not interesting. Sorry, that's the wrong thing. But more clever about his abilities. Instead of just following direct orders, it's okay. I'll follow this, but let's put some tang on this. As for like 2 more years, Percy's now 13. Annabeth is 15. As they're sitting in the cave with fire burning from the embers. As Annabeth asked Percy, what was your original name? As Percy looks up and he says, we've had this conversation so many times. I don't remember. We all know that's a lie. You know your original name. What is it? As Percy's like, I'll do it for one thing, and one thing only. As Annabeth says, yeah, what? Tell me. And he says, for a kiss. I'll do it for a kiss. Annabeth looks and says, this long mystery that you hold on for 6 years now, around that time, you would do it for a simple kiss? And as he shrugs, says, all I'm saying is, as he checks another log into the fire, he says, my original name does not matter now. My original name has been burned into ashes like these flames we have here. My original name is frozen in ice and chucked into the icy abyss of the water. My original name is not my original name. I've never taken that name ever. My now name is Percy. And the name that I had before, and if I ever had it, I never think I did, is now gone. Erased from my memories and gone forever. I can still remember it. But I don't have my original name. I have the name that I have now, and that's it. And that's what I will ever have. Percy. As Annabeth leans back a little bit and says, but don't you want to remember your culture? Your family always have a tradition or two, and as Percy says, yes. But my family dropped me off a long, long time ago. I have cut them out too. I don't remember them. I don't even remember if I had a sister or not, if my mother was pregnant, if I was even an only child. I don't remember if my own father's voice or his own face. I don't even remember my own mother's cooking, or what she did to make me sleep when the nightmares came. The only thing I can remember is a monster, as Annabeth closes her eyes and says, "You said this every time." He says, "A monster who take care of a young boy into a man." As you see him stand up and say, "And that's what I remember." As we see him walk out to the edge of the cave, as you see him open his flaps. I don't even want. It's more like a cloak. Open his cloak and he flies off. As Annabeth is linking back and he says, "He has a point. But I did get some good information out of him this time. But let's not push him. It seems like he always has rough in this world." As we see Percy now flying through the wind and just dropping down super low as he phases through a couple trees, not freezing them. As he does put his cloak back, does 3 flips and lands on the ground. As we see Percy just walk into the forest, as he looks around for not mice, but rabbits and simple stuff that he can eat, especially some deer if he has to. They've been mostly fishing on creatures that they find in the forest. As we see Percy, his vision being a lot better, looking around as he sees a bunny a good 200 or 300 feet. As we see him turn invisible, as we see him creak up, fly, and we see him grab it with simple ease, as grabs the neck, flies up to a little edge as he lands, as he turns invisible, as he has the bunny in his hands, says, "That will be a good catch." As he flies back, does some aerial flips and stuff like that basically only he could do, really. It's very cool what he's doing. He's basically just turning around very quickly and spinning full circles around the air, and then dropping his cloak, so he will drop for a couple seconds and then putting it back on, so it'll float again. But what is this caught by is a young boy who was going to go hiking, who went hiking that day. Blonde hair with almost looks like an electric strand, who video recorded all of that and posted that on YouTube. As this is where we're going to end it off. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.